would like to introduce you to my nephew, Jimmy Vibo. Jimmy, I am sharing info about you today because I am proud of you. Can I ask you a few questions?
Sure.
How old are you?
10.
And how is school going?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, okay.
What are some things that you like to do?
I'll just play outside.
Yeah, you like playing some video games and watching movies?
Yeah, that's...
What's your favorite movie?
I don't know.
You like Spider-Man and Hulk?
Yeah, those two.
And what do you like to do when you and I spend time together?
Show you some things.
You like to show me your video games and try and figure out how to solve them and watch some movies with you?
Yeah.
You have fun doing that, huh?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time with me, Jimmy.
Okay, thanks.
Jimmy learned the entire alphabet when he was 15 months old. We would flash him a letter, and he knew what it was. We were so impressed. As Jimmy grew a little older, he began to pace across the living room over and over again in the same pattern each time. We were a little confused. For his second birthday party, upon hearing the birthday song and being told to blow out the candles, he went into a hysteric fit. He hit everyone who was crowded around him and cleared a path in order to run out of the room. The whole room gasped and my heart sank. We now thought we really needed to get him to behave. At a family dinner outing when he was around 3 years of age, Jimmy climbed under the table and began to act like a dog a few minutes after our family sat down. "Jimmy, will you get up and act like a person? Sit up here. You are too old to be acting like this," his mother expressed, attempting to coax him to the table in a stern yet comforting voice. Our family looked at each other with stares of confusion, embarrassment, and fear. We were now afraid. What were we going to do with this kid? These were just a few of the warning signs that Jimmy was not like every other kid. After coming to grips with the fact that his behaviors were getting worse, my sister decided to get help. After analysis by doctors, teachers, psychiatrists, and therapists, it was concluded that Jimmy had Asperger's syndrome. What is that? Our family had never heard of such a disorder. We were soon to find out that it is a developmental disorder that is closely associated along the spectrum of autism. It is commonly referred to as the geek disease. It is a number of strange components, but everyone with Asperger's syndrome has their own unique case. Asperger's syndrome involves obsessive behaviors, monotone speech patterns, problems with understanding non-literal language, and social interaction problems. Due to this, my nephew is going to have a rough road ahead. He has already encountered problems interacting with other students of his age and has had problems keeping up with them with regard to coordination. I want him to cope and live a normal life. Autism and autism spectrum disorders such as Asperger's syndrome are on the rise. The generation of boys have a 1 in 94 chance of being born with an autism spectrum disorder. These are astonishing numbers. Therefore, it is necessary that our society become more educated because it will affect everyone at some level. It is evident that Asperger's syndrome is a strange, complex, and daunting disability. In order to truly understand this disorder, it is necessary to clearly define Asperger's syndrome. Asperger's syndrome is a neurological condition that affects social and emotional interaction. It is a developmental disability, which means that it is present at birth and affects development throughout life. It is considered a pervasive development disorder that is commonly associated with autism. Asperger's syndrome is not a disease, it is a syndrome. Asperger and autistic children are described as having mind blindness. They are unable to put themselves in the place of another and see things from another perspective. Sean Barron, a recovering autistic, described his mind as having tunnel vision. He said that he would shut himself out from the rest of the world to cope with his fear and anxiety. Barron explained that he chronically felt uneasiness and used repetitive fixations to cope with these feelings. Due to these impairments and the way that their minds work, it is obvious that a child with autism or Asperger's syndrome would feel depression and anxiety. They feel as though they cannot connect with the world around them. It is also understandable that a child with this much confusion would misbehave. It is the job of the parents and teachers to do what they can to connect the children to the rest of the world and provide a plan that helps the child to learn how to deal with their anxiety as well as behave properly. Asperger and autistic children often misbehave because they do not understand the world around them and have communication problems. It is necessary for the parents and teachers and society to understand this somewhat. First, Parents and teachers must be clear with directions. Because autistic children need to have literal language to guide them, it is necessary to say exactly what you want them to do. It is also important to remain concise with directions. Next, rules and consequences must be consistent. Finally, it is important to provide consequences and consistent consequences. These children should be able to predict the consequences of their actions. If the rules and structure is provided for the child, they seem to prosper. In contrast, there are certain things that parents must avoid in disciplining ASD children. These include physical punishment, screaming and yelling, put-downs or sarcasm, overuse of timeout, subtle consequences, long-winded lectures, and sulking or other indirect expressions of displeasure. Many people with Asperger's syndrome become successful once they have tapped into their focus or interests. People with Asperger's syndrome have a rough childhood and development, but once they are adults, life is easier for them to handle. The syndrome can be compared to putting pieces of a puzzle together. The pieces of the puzzle that are automatically fit together by the normal mind need to be worked out and figured out and put together by the mind of a person with Asperger's syndrome. Once a person can figure out the silent functions of the world, they are more able to adapt and foster meaningful relationships as well as find and maintain successful careers. Asperger's syndrome involves main characteristics. I will use my nephew as an example of sharing of these. Obsessive behaviors. Jimmy obsesses over video games, movies, superheroes, etc. For example, when Jimmy gets home from school, the first thing he wants to do is play on the computer, watch his movies, show his video games to others. They also tend to speak in monotone speech patterns. Jimmy will not speak with any inflection. His emotions are usually stagnant unless he is angry. They also have problems understanding non-literal language. For example, if I were to say, "I'm so hungry I could eat a horse," he may literally think, "I'm going to sit down and try and eat a horse." Social interaction problems that they deal with are things such as being blunt. For example, my wife is pregnant, and when she walked in the room, Jimmy said, "Aunt JoJo, you look fat." They tend to try and control everything, including conversation. Since my nephew was diagnosed with this disorder, my eyes have been opened to become more sensitive to this disability as well as others with disabilities. I have vowed to educate myself and others about this disease and how I can find out how to help my family, Jimmy, and others around him. In my eyes, Jimmy is already a hero. He has come so far since his diagnosis. I just want to know how I can help him reach the world's expectations of normal and to live a fulfilling and healthy life.